in this overview, I will tell you more about what is the background of the methodology, particularly what ideas in terms of the theories and methodologies coming from sustainability transition thinking from research. So how to translate that thinking into something operational for those not active in research, but exactly for these different users, the governments, carbon market actors, and investors. So if we go starting with the definition, this is almost the same. We based this toolkit very closely on the ICAT methodology, but we also did an update to the definition to make it more comprehensive. And it reads like this. It's a fundamental sustained change of a system. And here system is a part of society. It could be national level, it could be sectoral level, system level. You define it as a user, setting the boundaries around what is it you want to transform. But it's this change of a system that disrupts established unsustainable carbon-intensive practices and or leads to a sustained reduction in vulnerability, contributing to a zero-carbon climate resilient society in line with the global goals. The Paris Agreement 1.5 degree, the global goal on adaptation, and the UN Global Sustainable Development Goals. So from this definition, we've unpacked it, and you'll see how we've done that. But first, the bigger picture. What do we mean about what is transformation over time? In relation to the SDGs by 2030. And if we look to 2050, we're also going to absolute approaches to sustainability impact assessment, respecting planetary boundaries, Earth system boundaries. And you see that at the top level, we are already overshooting as we are for climate change, but also overshooting. It's not sustainable. Whereas the inner circle coming from the Kate Raworth donut economy, it allows assessing the social foundation in terms of dimensions of socioeconomic sustainability. And this is it shows the pathway to net zero. We want to achieve it by 2050, but it's not a climate first or climate only approach. We're not just assessing GHG emission reductions. We're doing it in the context of the SDGs, taking a whole of society approach, which is why achieving climate and sustainable development goals for transformation, it's equally important, you can say. So next slide. This shows the phases of transformation. So systems, and if we here look at countries, many developing countries are still at a pre-development or take-off stage, pioneering new technologies and creating the momentum in the takeoff phase. Why is this necessary? Phasing out fossil fuels. And in the acceleration stage, and if I take the example of Denmark, where I come from, in Copenhagen, we're currently at the acceleration stage, having around 70% of our energy coming from renewables, aiming for 100% in the stabilization phase. And you see that the dotted lines represent the risks of relapse. So sometimes when governments change or the mayor changes in a city, there's a change of policy and you could sort of slide backwards in terms of the degree of system change. But attributes of transformational change, it's very much at multiple levels. It's not just at activity level, even though the tool is for assessing activities, but the transformational impact is how does it change the system with regards to the characteristics of transformational change that we will then assess. It's a fundamental change. It establishes, and I think you heard that, it sort of disrupts status quo. But the concepts from the methodology is that we define impact for transformational change, the impact of transformation, as a combination of climate and SDG outcomes at scale and sustained. And the other dimension is the processes of change, how to get there, both in terms of the drivers, new technologies, incentives, economic, policy-wise, agents, the pioneers, the social movements, and also the norms, realizing, as in the pre-development takeoff phase, well, something's wrong. We need to change the norms and not depend on the fossil fuels, but move towards sustainability. So we assess those categories of change. And in the next slide, we go a step deeper. So this is all about unpacking this definition of transformational impact that I just read. And then in the assessment, we also go to the characteristic level, such as for technology, well, we need research and development. When we have new technologies, we have to adopt them and scale them. And I won't go into all the characteristics for all the categories, but you'll see it in the assessment, in the tool. But for the outcomes, it's a qualitative assessment. You can, below the characteristic level, you can add indicators to make it a more quantitative assessment. We haven't done that because it's a complex assessment demanding even at a qualitative assessment level. So this is a structured assessment according to these characteristics. But at the outcome level, we see, for instance, scale of outcome. We measure it as, so the system change, is it micro, medium, macro, and also the sustained nature. What can you achieve with your climate action? Can you achieve short-term, medium-term, or long-term changes? And for to be transformational, of course, you start short-term, but you also need a vision and a plan to ensure that the change of system is long-term, lasting. So next. So to the toolkit, the goals, it's about making it more applicable and accessible for the assessment, and the tools that we have developed. It's a generic tool, the general one, that goes for all, and it covers all NDC policies and actions. And then the new thing, which is not in the methodology, is that in the portfolio tool, it enables aggregation of the impacts, comparison of the characteristics across a portfolio, and also how the portfolio aligns to national goals, such as NDC goals and SDG goals. And then we have the carbon market tool and the investment tool for more targeted user groups, project developers for carbon markets, financial institutions, private sector, for considerations of investments. And you'll hear more about that after Buddika talks about the IT aspect of the toolkit. This is it for me.
Transformational Change Toolkit is going to help countries and individual institutions to, measure the impact of climate impact of and the SD impact of various climate actions. And as Karen mentioned, actually, this is, as you might have seen, this is a complex concept, and it is well written, and the methodology is really reflecting. And you all know that when UNEP-CCC or Green Climate Fund, when they are going with certain requirements, always there are many requirements are embedded and so many methodologies, very complex, right? Sometimes preparing this documentation is going to take more time than accessing the finance, right? So now idea here is actually to simplify, right? To take all the complexities in the methodology, all the complexities in the requirement to the tool by the tool, and then give some flexibility to you. You don't have to, worry too much. It is simplified, and you can simply use the tool and generate the transformational impact of any action. For example, country where I come from, we have around 25,000 megawatt wind power potential in Sri Lanka. But right now we have tapped only 500 megawatt. So we know that we can go to 25,000, But how we get there, what changes we need to do, and how it will impact on climate, how it will align with the SDGs. So this is something that we can look at using this Transformational Change Toolkit. Next slide, please. Yeah, so as I mentioned, the whole idea of this software, the web-based tool, is actually to get the complexities from the tool, from the methodologies into the tool, and get the complexities in the requirement into the tool, and then give you something simplified version so that you can easily measure the transformation impact of climate and the SDG alignment easily. So this in the web tool, actually everything is automated. As Karen mentioned, actually we are not going for the quantitative analysis, we are going for sort of qualitative analysis, but still it's automated. And the tool is free to use. It can be used by countries, it can be used by individuals, it can be used by institutions, like Henning mentioned, that Green Climate Fund, Climate Investment Fund, or various banks, multilateral banks. This can be a good tool to measure the transformational change impact. And then when you do assessment, actually, you can do the assessment halfway. As Karen also mentioned, there are many requirements, actually. Then you can complete it later. So that is possible, and you can, it will automatically save your assessment. And once you complete the assessment, actually results is generated on the screen, and you have a real-time dashboard with the dynamic graphs. Actually, you can immediately see the results of the transformational change impact, and also alignment with the SDGs and other inputs that you have embedded. You can also generate reports. As Henning also mentioned, now actually in future, when you are going to access climate finance from GCF or Climate Investment Fund, or even from the various donor agencies, you may need to provide certain assessment transfer change impact. So then this tool can generate the reports in PDF or in a Excel-based system, and you can go ahead. And you can also edit, delete assessments. That's also another possibility. As also Henning mentioned, the tool, you have guidance actually. Throughout the tool, there are so many guidance. And there are small video clip like 1 to 2 minutes or even 30 seconds explaining how to use the tool. There are so many informations available. Default informations are already available actually, so that you can easily go through the tool and fill the necessary information. Assessment results are already in the database, and you can also manage SDGs. Certain countries may have different priorities for the SDGs. So you can set the priorities for your country for the SDGs, and then the assessment will come, which is more specific for the country context. There are different type of users, different levels. So a country can create their own users. The different users have different access right. And actually this tool has also been developed that external people also can use, not only the country users. So that make it more user-friendly and accessible to many, several audience. And yeah, you can generate the reports from the various format, Excel format and Word PDF format, so that you can reuse for some other purposes later. I think that's all. There are 4 steps actually in the assessment. So first you need to collect an intervention. So someone has to create a climate action in the system and then do the assessment using the guided steps in the tool that I will be showing you later. And you generate the results. If you want to compare the results between various tools, that's also possible using the portfolio tool. With that, I will stop here and see you later with the demo.